I'm Jonathan Decker.
This stays in. This is going in the show.
I'm Jonathan Decker.
I'm Alan Seawright. That's Chewbacca.
So we got rid of Chewie. Chewie's no longer our co-pilot. I'm Jonathan Decker,
And I'm Alan Seawright.
and we are big Harry Potter fans.
Except Jono over here doesn't really seem to understand the fandom.
Look, that was college. I needed the money.
You needed the money.
It's
We were going to a premiere of a movie.
It was good times.
That's
least
true, it was fun.
At least I wasn't wearing a horrific red wig.
To be fair, it wasn't red. It was orange. It was sparkly, and I was a Weasley.
All right, so back on track, back on that Hogwarts Express. Today we're going to talk about Harry Potter and how to handle bullies. Now, a lot of people see how you handle bullies is you go from running and hiding or saying yes, sir, and trying to get out of the way. Like most bully stories end with standing up for yourself, right? Like Back to the Future, you think of George McFly punching Biff out. Like so many bully stories about standing up for yourself.
Right.
But we were talking about how Harry Potter, J.K. Rowling, takes it one step further.
Harry Potter goes from being bullied to standing up to his bullies to, the next step, which is compassion for and understanding of his bullies.
You have your mother's eyes.
Yeah.
And when he does that, it seems to me, like from a storytelling standpoint, that he takes away all their power to do anything to them. Is there any truth to that?
No, that's very true in real life. Because bullies are people. And
Sure.
you know the old saying, like, hurt people, right? Any bully...
That was a lot of, was there supposed to be a comma in there?
hurt people...
So one of them's an adjective and one of them's a verb.
Exactly.
Okay.
If I'm hurting, then I hurt other people.
Got it.
And so, and that's what Harry comes to realize with every single one of his bullies, is that underneath that is a person to be, if not loved, at the very least pitied. And once he pities them, he doesn't fear them anymore.
Right.
But let's go back to the start of this. At the very beginning, Harry does what any of us would do. He just tries to keep his head down and tries to not cause trouble. And you think about it, what were some of the bullies we were talking about in Harry? Who were the bullies? We got
So, starting off, he's got the Dursleys, and, the filmmakers do a great job very early on of establishing that not only is Harry getting bullied, but he has no power in the situation.
Yeah.
A lot of the shots of the Dursleys are looking up at them, so they're large and intimidating, and he's small, and he's stuck in a cupboard, and he's this little person. And it just makes him tiny and insignificant, and he just tries to hide.
And Harry, like anybody, and it's not just kids, like bullying doesn't just happen on the playground. Bullying happens at work, it happens at church, it happens in marriages, it happens between parents and kids, or even kids and parents. Like it happens all over the place when you have somebody who's trying to coerce or intimidate or harm another person who's perceived as vulnerable. And the Dursleys just steamroll over Harry, and they deny his value as a human being.
Dad, look! Harry's got a letter! Hey, give it back, it's mine!
Yours? They'll be writing to you.
Who'd want to be friends with you?
Every time they belittle his parents and, talk about him as being less than because of his parentage is, denying, right?
I was the only one to see her for what she was. A freak. And then she met that Potter. And then she had you, and I knew you would be the same. Just as strange, just as abnormal.
Aunt Marge comes over and she's like, boy, clean up.
Yeah.
Right? So everything with the Dursleys is telling Harry that he's worthless. And that is the message he's fed for 11 years. And so what does Harry do? He tries to not cause trouble, right? He knows that if he talks back, if he stands up for himself, he's going to pay for it.
And you?
I'll be in my bedroom, making no noise and pretending that I don't exist.
And that's where most people find themselves with bullies, is like they're just going to take it because they don't want to rock the boat. And then he goes to school, and we'll talk about Malfoy in a second, because Malfoy is actually an exception. Yeah. He stands up to Malfoy immediately,
right off the bat.
But he goes to school, and who does he meet but Alan Rickman as...
Severus Snape, the possibly greatest bully in cinematic history. He's so cutting and snide, and he just finds exactly the pressure point and just twists the knife.
Mr. Potter, our new celebrity.
And we learn the story later on of why he hates Harry so much.
Yeah.
But Harry doesn't know, and even if he knew, I don't think it would make it okay.
As an 11-year-old, You're never gonna be able to separate out like why is he doing this versus what he's doing, and
Right.
what he's doing is so bad that it doesn't matter.
And that's the thing about bullies is it's a power differential.
Right.
Right? And Snape has this, he's the professor, he's taller, he's meaner, his clothes are blacker, right? And so he just comes in and immediately dresses down Harry in front of his schoolmates.
And what is the difference between monkshood and wolfbane?
I don't know, sir.
Pity. Clearly, fame isn't everything, is it, Mr. Potter?
What do you think about Harry in this clip? How is he handling this?
You know, it's classic evasion, right? He's doing everything he can to just make it go away as quickly as possible.
Yeah. When we get into conflict resolution, one of the styles of conflict resolution is known as avoidant, conflict avoidant. And people who are conflict avoidant do exactly what Harry does right here. Soft tone, hunched over, non-threatening, non-challenging. He does it with the Dursleys, he does it with Snape, and then later on, he does it with Umbridge, right? She's making him right, I must not tell lies.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about Umbridge in this scene.
Nothing.
That's right.
I think for a lot of fans, she's worse than Voldemort.
Yeah, because she's so unfair. Voldemort has a goal. It's evil and it's terrible, but you can understand it. He doesn't care that much about Harry.
He doesn't care enough about individuals to hate them individually.
Right. And Umbridge is so calculating and unfair, and it seems completely arbitrary.
Well, I think there's that, but I think on her end, it's like, I uphold the ministry.
We saw your lies for what they were, a smokescreen for your bid to seize control of the ministry.
Yeah.
And I uphold Fudge.
She was at my hearing. She works for Fudge.
And for her, it's about the power trip. Like,
Yeah.
Fudge has given me this position. And a lot of bullies, it's a quest for power, but it's also, if you disagree with me, it's a challenge. And it must be snuffed out.
Right.
And I have to make you feel like you're the idiot or you were the person in the wrong.
You have been told that a certain dark wizard is at large once again. This is a lie.
It's not a lie. I saw him. I fought him.
Detention, Mr. Potter.
And that's, when we talk about conflict resolution styles, we talked about avoiders. This is an attacker style.
Sure.
Attackers thrive on conflict. They don't back down. They don't take responsibility for their own actions. They put it on somebody else. They're going to be meaner or louder, or in Umbridge's case, this passive-aggressive sweetness.
And how lovely to see all your bright, happy faces smiling up at me. I'm sure we're all going to be very good friends.
That's likely.
And a lot of bullies don't seem like bullies, and people won't believe you when you tell them
Right.
because they come across so sweet.
Well, she's a gaslighter. She's just gaslighting him.
Yeah.
It's bullying, but it's more insidious than just your standard bullying.
Now, I'm not the filmmaker, but I look at the set design of this scene and I'm like, this is interesting. What do you think they're telling us about Umbridge here?
Well, this set design is also straight out of the books, right? She's obsessed with pink. Everything's pink, everything's cats, everything's doilies. It's all cute. It's all fluffy and nice. I don't know if that's actually her taste or if that's a calculated decision that she's putting this look forward into the world because she knows it can mask and hide who she really is.
Yeah.
And the terrible things that she's willing to do
You haven't given me any ink.
Oh, you won't need any ink.
to get and maintain the tiny, insignificant amount of power that she has. I mean,
well, I look at that
but
and
it's
I
a
think,
power trip.
I think bullies generally have low self-esteem.
Absolutely.
And so any little bit of power they can get, they make it bigger.
Can't do this. Actually, I can.
So that it gives them worth. And I wonder if, like you're saying, maybe she's doing the pink to throw people off, to hide what she really is, or if she actually sees herself as this benevolent, nice woman. Because there's evidence of that when she says to Harry,
Because you know, deep down, you deserve to be punished.
It does really raise the question of whether or not, if she's putting on a front deceitfully,
Yeah.
or if she really truly believes that that's what she is, and that the ends of this nice, sweet, ordered,
yeah,
perfect, ministry-approved life, all the means to get to that end are justified.
And Harry here, he does what he's done with the Dursleys, he does what he does with Snape. He tries to keep his head down, he tries to be respectful, he tries to not make this person explode or punish him.
Students will raise their hands when they speak in my class.
But he doesn't handle the Dementors that way, and he sure doesn't handle Voldemort that way. In those cases, it's a run and hide situation. That's how he's dealing with those bullies.
The transformation that happens with Harry is with all of these characters when he finally stands up to them. And this happens with Draco Malfoy as well, because he stands up to Malfoy immediately.
Right out of the gate.
But why does he stand up to Malfoy?
Pure. Blonde?
What?
Because Malfoy's blonde?
Yes, everyone hates blondes. No, he stands up to Malfoy because Malfoy is picking on his friend. He's picking on Ron.
Think my name was funny, do you? With no need to ask you yours. Red hair and a hand-me-down robe. You must be a Weasley.
And then he also picks on Hermione a little bit later. The first time that Harry stands up to nearly any of his attackers is because he's standing up for someone else.
I can help you there. I think I can tell the wrong sort for myself, thanks.
The first time he stands up to the Dementors...
To protect Sirius.
Every other time he runs and hides, but as soon as he stands up to them, it's to protect someone else.
Yeah, especially in the books. Like, he stands up to Snape because Snape's being tough on Neville.
Right.
And so he stands up to Snape right there. I mean, initially with the Dementors, he just flees, right? And with Voldemort, he runs and hides.
Yeah.
And this is just how he handles it. But you're right, with Draco, right out of the gate, he stands up to him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where Harry, even early on, starts to find that I can stand up to bullies.
Sure.
Now, where he makes, in my opinion, the real transition point is with Sirius Black.
Only one would die tonight. Then it'll be you!
This is Harry at his darkest point, frankly, because he believes Sirius Black betrayed his parents to death.
Are you going to kill me, Harry?
And Harry is contemplating becoming a murderer and a bully himself. But this begs the question, like, Harry finds his courage when he's not standing up for himself, when he's standing up for other people.
Right.
Right? So the Dursleys mocked his parents, he stands up to them. Umbridge is to save Sirius, because Sirius is trapped in the Department of Ministries.
He's got Padfoot at the place where it's hidden.
He stands up to Draco Malfoy's dad, Lucius Malfoy, to protect Dobby.
Lost me, my servant!
Sometimes if bullies are picking on other people, like it's easier to stand up for somebody else than for yourself.
Yeah.
So it begs the question, and I have thoughts as a therapist, but I'm just interested in your ideas as a person. How do you find the courage to stand up for yourself to other people?
Like most people do, I think, I tend to be pretty conflict avoidant. Mm-hmm. And it's really interesting because I'm a big guy, right? I'm 6'5", and I'm like, and I constantly find myself making myself small. Like I purposefully act a little younger and a little less threatening and less intimidating because I don't want to step on people's toes. I don't want people to feel, like I'm taking advantage of them because it's so easy for me to come across as a bully.
Yeah.
And
so you're very mindful and maybe overcorrect.
I dramatically overcorrect, and because of it, I get, not like constantly, but there are people, especially in my profession, who've stepped on me any number of times.
Yeah.
And I just kind of take it.
Yeah.
And it can be hard to find the value in yourself, and it's honestly the turning point for me, the thing that helps me is the same thing that helps Harry to finally figure out that he has worth and just stand up to bullies basically permanently, and that's thinking about the people who love me. He thinks about his family, he thinks about his parents, who sacrificed everything.
Yeah. Are you
Here it is.
Man,
every freaking episode.
Harry Potter and Pixar.
Every episode, man, it's gonna be, Harry Potter and Pixar are gonna.
No, but thinking about the people who love him.
Thinking about the people who love him and that they value him.
Has anyone else got a problem with Harry?
And because he's so willing to stand up for them.
Maybe you don't have to do this all by yourself, mate.
If they're willing to stand up for him, it's an easy, logical connection that you can make where
that he has worth.
I can stand up for them, but they're willing to stand up for me, so maybe I should stand up for me.
Sweetheart, you're ready. Let go! Let go!
Yeah, I have worth. I think that's beautiful. And we're gonna circle back to that concept a little bit later in a major way, but having that confidence, we talk about avoiders, we talk about attackers. These are the conflict resolution styles that come naturally,
Sure.
right? People avoid conflict or they come out swinging. I think a lot of people avoid conflict because they don't want it to get ugly.
Right.
They don't know how to do it without it getting ugly. Now in Harry Potter, sometimes there are battles he has to fight. But in real life, we can do something called being an affirmer. And what's beautiful about being an affirmer, it's a learned skill, it's a practice skill, it doesn't come naturally. But if I'm an affirmer, I take ownership for what's mine, but not what belongs to anybody else.
Okay.
If I'm an affirmer, I can disagree with somebody and still see their value. Instead of like these bullies, you disagree with me, it's a threat, it's a challenge, and it must be quashed.
Right.
Squashed, quelched. I put squashed and quelched, got quashed. Quaffled.
Quashed is a word.
Yeah, is it?
It is. You did it. You Englished.
I Englished.
I won! Me fail English? That's impossible.
So, anyways, I look at this, and being an affirmer is what Harry ultimately learns to do. How do you balance strength with compassion? How do you have kindness, but also be able to fight? Because far too often, if I'm going to be kind, that means I'm not a fighter.
Right.
Right? Or if I'm going to be a fighter, then I lose my empathy and I lose that humanity. And Harry threads the needle there. If you're looking at bullying, the big thing to build towards is I want to stand up to a bully. But going one step further, actually having compassion for your bullies robs them of the power to hurt you. So here's Voldemort. He's in the Department of Mysteries. He's invaded Harry's mind, and he's tormenting him with all these visions of people dying, of all of Harry's failures, and he's telling him,
So weak. So vulnerable.
and Harry's trying to fight back, but it's not happening. And who does he see? All of his friends come running in, and they're looking at Harry with such sympathy, and then Harry starts to think of all of the people who love him. And this is one of my favorite moments in any movie ever, is when Harry says to Voldemort,
You're the weak one, and you'll never know love or friendship. And I feel sorry for you.
You'll never know friendship, and you'll never know love, and I feel sorry for you. And in that moment, he casts him out. See, until this time, Voldemort's been he who must not be named.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone's terrified of him. Harry graduates to speaking his name, but from this moment on, he calls him Tom.
Yeah.
Because he's no longer a monster. He's a hurting, miserable person. And for Harry, whose connections are the most important thing in the world to him, to think of somebody who doesn't have that, it makes him feel sad.
The filmmaking leading up to that scene is one of the things that makes it so powerful.
Yeah.
We have the entire, crazy battle sequence down in the Department of Mysteries.
Yeah.
Sirius dies. There's all of this mayhem and craziness going on, right? And then we go upstairs. Voldemort shows up and it's lights out, right?
Yeah.
This is it. Harry's dead. It's all gonna end. And then we get the big light show. And most filmmakers would have approached this, and I would have been guilty of this too. If I had seen that on the page, I would have gone, ooh, two most powerful wizards in history, there's gonna be some fireworks. And there are. The fireworks are
I was
spectacular.
gonna say, they lean into it for a couple minutes.
The fireworks are spectacular, and this is, in my opinion, the best sound designed piece of film ever in film. The sound design in this scene when Voldemort and Dumbledore fight is perfection. It is exactly what you want from sound in a movie. But the thing that this fight does, most movies would make it about the spectacle of the fight, right?
Yeah.
This is Dumbledore versus Voldemort. David Yates, the filmmaker of Order of the Phoenix through the last three films, chooses to take this fight and focus it on Harry's emotional journey.
Yeah.
Harry is seeing a terrifying
Display of power.
And it's Voldemort being a bully and Dumbledore trying to contain. And he's seeing this and processing the death of his father figure.
Yeah.
And comes out of it a completely changed person. Because he ran up there.
You've got to mean it, Harry. She killed him. She deserves it.
To kill Bellatrix Lestrange. He was going to kill her.
You know the spell, Harry.
And he comes out of it changed and just wanting to help.
Yeah.
Just feeling bad for the guy who tried to kill him.
Yeah.
You're a fool, Harry Potter. And you will lose everything.
I love you, man. This is beautiful. No, this is seriously, what's funny to me is I thought I would be the crier of the two of us.
Have you met me?
Yeah. and it's so true. And I think from there on out, you have this shift where Harry starts to look at everybody in a different light, right? And so you go from the Dursleys. I mean, there's this moment where he, obviously at the beginning of Order of Phoenix, he's trying to save Dudley, even though Dudley's a piece of crap.
Sure. Yep.
And then a deleted scene of Deathly Hallows is Dudley, I wish they kept it in the film, is Dudley thanking Harry.
I don't think you're a waste of space.
Thanks.
We transitioned from Voldemort to now we have Snape, who's been the most vile person in Harry's life. Like, sure, he hates Voldemort for killing his parents, but Voldemort's not there every day,
right,
taking the piss out of him and just dressing him down in front of his peers. And with Snape, Harry goes from loathing him to when he actually sees inside Snape's thoughts that Snape was bullied. And suddenly Harry realizes there's a common thread here. And I don't think Harry's willing to yield it. I don't think he's willing to give Snape compassion until after he has this experience with Voldemort. He starts to step into it until Snape kills Dumbledore.
Please. Avada Kedavra.
And now he hates him, but look at this. Harry's now standing up to Snape.
Fight back! You coward, fight back! How dare you stand where he stood?
Harry stands up to Snape, but then when he goes into the Pensieve and he sees Snape's life, and he sees that Snape is the way he was because he was never really loved.
Right.
Right? The only people who ever loved him, well, Dumbledore was kind to him. The only person who ever loved him was Lily. Not romantic love, but just loved him, right? And so, of course, he attaches to her his great unrequited love, the one person, and James Potter, the bully, comes in, takes her away. So Sirius hates James Potter for the bullying, but hates him even more for taking Lily.
Right.
Right? Now, of course, Sirius has some work to do on understanding that it's the lady's choice who she gets to be with.
There's some issues there, yeah.
But Harry sees, okay, Snape hates me because he hates my dad.
There you are, Potter.
But he has protected me time and time again because he loved my mom.
After all this time.
And he stood up to Voldemort
All the way.
because he loved my mom and was a double agent at great risk to himself to bring Voldemort down out of love for the one person who was ever kind to him. And I love the 180 Harry does on Snape by the end.
Albus Severus Potter. You were named after two headmasters of Hogwarts. One of them was a Slytherin, and he was the bravest man I've ever known.
And Harry not only does he not hate his bully, he loves him for what he did. And
has the world's most unfortunately named child.
Albus Severus.
That's terrible.
I don't know. We're in Utah. There's some worse names here.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
So, I don't know. What do you think about the Harry-Snape dynamic and Harry finding compassion for Snape?
Harry learning to have some compassion for Voldemort and then, figuring out how to destroy his nemesis. That's the story arc, right? That's the plot.
Yeah.
Snape is the character. He's the one who changes him.
I think that's profound. I think you're spot on. We got to figure out where Draco Malfoy settles into here.
Yeah.
Because we can all relate to, we had a nemesis on the playground, or we had a nemesis in school, or we had at work, we have the other coworker, we're both going for the same promotion, like or a sibling, right? And Harry never becomes Malfoy's friend. Never. They're never buddies. They don't join the same bowling league or Quidditch league or whatever. Like, Harry comes to realize that Malfoy is the way he is because his dad's a twit.
Look closely, son. If we are the ones to hand Potter over to the Dark Lord, everything will be forgiven. All will be as it was, you understand?
And is always pressuring his son to live up to the family name. Malfoy inherited all of his bigotry from his father.
Right.
But when Malfoy is tasked with killing Dumbledore...
Please let me help you.
I don't want your help. Don't you understand? I have to do this. I have to kill you. He's gonna kill me.
Harry hears that, and I think, once again, beginnings of compassion for an enemy, right? And then into there, Harry realizes that Malfoy and he have something in common. A mother who adores them and will do anything for them. Like, that's the one thing Harry and Malfoy have in absolute common.
Yep.
I think at that point, Harry transitions to pity for Draco. And he does something. He saves Draco's life. And I love what Ron says.
If we die for them, Harry, I'm gonna kill you!
He actually saves Malfoy's life. It's an act of kindness. Did I ever tell you about what my mom taught me? There was a bully when I was a kid who was awful to me and how she helped me to handle it.
I don't think I've ever heard this story.
He was like atomic wedgie, punch you into the swimming pool, like loogie in your face, like really just awful, awful bully.
Sure.
And I was overweight because I was an emotional eater, and I come home from school and my mom would have the fresh baked cookies, and she'd be like, "Tell me about your day." I'm like, "The kids are so mean." They call me Butterball. They did. It's a terrible thing. They call me Butterball.
I didn't know you were overweight as a kid.
Yeah,
because we were like college roommates, and you were svelte and trim and looking
svelte,
good.
Yes, I was a regular Sarah Michelle Gellar. Anyways, so he was cruel to me. He called me Butterball, like all these terrible things.
Yeah.
And I was crying to my mom about it, and she says, let's look up, I want to give his mom a call. I'm like, "Oh gosh, Mom, no,
this
please."
This is a bad idea.
Yeah, because if you dress her down, he's going to beat the crap out of me at school. Just leave it alone. She says, "No, I want to get..." She insisted, so we got his mom's phone number. She called the mom, and I figured she was going to chew this mom out because your son's awful. And she says, "We'd like to invite him over to go get ice cream." And so he comes over, and I'm like, "Mom, what are you doing?" The whole time, I was just terrified.
Yeah.
She asked him about who he was, what his interests were, what his favorite Nintendo game was, because it was original Nintendo. She's like, "Oh, Mario 3. Jono's favorite is Mario 2. I think you guys could get along." And she started just showing an interest in him. And it made me safe to just start joking around and doing the same with him. And after that day, we weren't friends. He never bullied me again. Ever. I think bullies expect, a lot of times they're miserable because people have been cruel to them.
Sure.
And they think that's how the world works. It's all about power and cruelty, right? And when they provoke you, they're expecting you to fold or to lash out and be provoked. Kindness is a wild card. And it doesn't always work. It doesn't always change hearts. What it does show is that you won't be changed.
Right.
Right? But for a lot of people, they're bullies because it's awful at home. And somebody shows them kindness, and they don't even know what to do with that. And what I love about Harry and Draco, even though they never become friends, you can see it at the train station. They regard each other with respect.
Yeah.
And that comes from Harry showing Draco kindness. But later on in life, definitely, I came to realize every person who's cruel to me has got something going on.
Yeah. And I think a lot of us realize that, right? Like our childhood bully, we learn later on what was going on at home or whatever, and we start to feel bad for them.
Yeah.
Especially when, our childhood bullies are stuck in dead-end lives, and we're on YouTube. Huh? Subscribers. We got them.
Anyways.
That's affirmation
Let's get back
in the
on
form of a number. Like, subscribe, hit the bell if you want more stuff like this. Also, please, 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 leave us comments below. Anything you'd like us to talk about from Harry Potter, any other films, or just themes in general that we can draw from for future episodes of Cinema Therapy.
And if somehow you don't own the Harry Potter films yet, we've got a link in the description. You can purchase or rent them. We get a little kickback, which helps us to produce this for you. If you'd like some therapeutic help or online relationship courses, I've got a free 15-minute consultation link there underneath. Last thing, we are counting on you to help us grow. So you've got friends, they've got problems, they love movies. Let them know what we're doing. So once again, Stay connected, be safe, and
Watch movies. How you doing, bud?
And this is Chewy, who's a big fan of chicken nuggets.